Hello students, today we will discuss analgesia for labor and vaginal delivery. First we will see about the normal progress of labor. Labor can be defined as a progressive dilatation of cervix in association with repetitive uterine contractions. Labor can be either spontaneous or induced. Although labor is a continuous process, it has traditionally been divided into three stages. First stage of labor consists of at least two phases. Number one, latent phase of variable duration, which is defined as period between the onset of labor and the point at which a change in slope of cervical dilatation is noted, and a phase of maximal dilatation, which usually begins at approximately 3 cm dilatation. During active phase of labor, uterine contractions occur approximately every 3 minutes. They have duration of about 1 minute and achieve an intrauterine pressure of 50 to 70 millimeters of mercury. During the normal progress of labor, cervix should dilate at a rate of approximately 1 centimeter per hour. The second stage of labor is defined as interval between full cervical dilatation and delivery of the infant. The duration of second stage is typically 1 to 2 hours with allowance of epidural analgesia. The third stage of labor encompasses delivery of the placenta. Progress of labor may be abnormal and can be classified as slow latent phase, arrest of active phase, or arrest of descent. This figure shows normal progress of labor. There is a first part shows latent phase, that is up to 8 hours. Second, active phase consists of accelerated phase of maximum slope. Then there is a second stage of labor, and on y-axis it shows the cervical dilatation. Then we will see the diagnostic features of prolonged labor. When there is a slow latent phase in nullipara, if it is more than 20 hours, in multipara more than 14 hours. Slow sloped active phase less than 1.2 cm per hour in nulliparas and less than 1.5 cm per hour phase in multiparas. Active phase arrest, that means there is no cervical dilatation for 2 hours. Slow descent, that means in nulliparas it is less than 1 cm per hour and in multiparas it is less than 2 cm per hour fetus. Arrest of descent, that means there is no descent for 1 hour. And in second stage, in nulliparas, if it is more than 2 hours without regional analgesia and more than 3 hours with regional analgesia. In multiparas, if second stage is more than 1 hour without regional analgesia and more than 2 hours with regional analgesia. These are the diagnostic features of prolonged labor. Now we will see the mechanism and pain pathways of the labor. The pain perception by parturients is a dynamic process. It involves both peripheral and central mechanisms. Many factors have an effect on degree of pain experienced by the woman during labor. These factors include psychological preparation, emotional support during labor, past experience. An abnormal presentation, occipito-posterior, may also cause early labor pain to be more intense. These pain may be labor pain described, woman describes it, the pain of uterine contraction as being unbearable, intolerable, extremely severe. What happens during first stage? During first stage of labor, pain impulses arises primarily from the uterus. Uterine contractions may result in myometrial ischemia, which ultimately causes the release of bradykinin, histamine, and serotonin. The stretching and distension of lower uterine segment and cervix may stimulate mechanoreceptors. These noxious impulses follow sensory nerve fibers that accompanies sympathetic nerve endings. Then they travel through the paracervical region and hypogastric plexus to enter the lumbar sympathetic chain. These stimuli enter the spinal cord at level of T10, T11, T12 and L1 spinal segments. The parturients described this pain as dull in nature. It is often poorly localized. Now, with the onset of second stage of labor and stretching of perineum, somatic afferent nerve fibers transmit impulses through the pudendal nerve to spinal cord at level of S2, S3 and S4. This is the figure which shows mechanism and pain pathways of labor. This visceral pain is carried to T10, T11, T12 and L1. Somatic pain is carried at the level S2, S3, S4. These are the nerve pathways for pain in various stages of labor and types of block that block the nerve impulses. The segmental epidural that is given at the level of T10L1. Then paravertebral blocks that can be also given at T10L1 level. Then another is lumbar sympathetic block. Next is low caudal or true saddle block. Then paracervical block, pudendal block, and these are the sacral nerve root blocks S2, S4. Now there are different methods of labor analgesia. What are the methods? There are non-pharmacological methods and pharmacological methods. In non-pharmacological methods, there is number 1, continuous emotional support, relaxation breathing techniques, TENS, physical therapies, then hydrotherapy, intradermal water injection, hypnosis, acupuncture, massage, music therapy, and use of heat and cold. This is related to non-pharmacological methods. In pharmacological methods, it may be systemic or it may be regional. The systemic includes inhalational methods, that is Entonox, which consist of volatile anesthetic agents, sevoflurane, isoflurane, desflurane. Then systemic analgesics, it consists of opioids, pethidine, meperidine, morphine, fentanyl, remifentanil. Then non-opioid analgesics, it consists of agonist, antagonist analgesic, nalbuphine, buprenorphine, butorphanol. Sedatives, tranquilizers, these contain benzodiazepines, and dissociative or amnesic drugs, that means ketamine. These are used as systemic agents. Then regional techniques, neuraxial techniques. The neuraxial technique consists of lumbar epidural analgesia, continuous spinal epidural, combined spinal epidural analgesia, single shot spinal analgesia, continuous spinal analgesia, then dural puncture epidural technique, then maintenance of local anesthetic, It is maintained by intermittent top-ups, continuous epidural infusion. These are the and alternative regional anesthetic techniques may contain lumbar sympathetic block, pudendal block, and paracervical block. These are the methods of labor analgesia. Now, first we will see about the psychoprophylaxis. In psychoprophylaxis, the childbirth was painless process that did not need medical intervention if mother was adequately prepared. It has been said by Dick and Reed in 1933. This method focuses on teaching the mother conditioned reflexes to overcome the pain and fear of childbirth. It uses an education program, human support during labor, breathing techniques, relaxation techniques of voluntary muscles, strong focus of attention, and specific activities to concentrate on during contractions to block the pain. Now, second, we will see about the TENS, that is transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation. Is thought to reduce pain by nociceptive inhibition at presynaptic level in dorsal horn by limiting central transmission. The electrical stimulation preferentially activates low threshold myelinated nerves. The afferent inhibition effect inhibit propagation of nociception along unmyelinated small C fibers by blocking impulses to target cells in substantia gelatinosa to dorsal horn. TENS is also thought to enhance the release of endorphins and dynorphins centrally. Now we will see about the systemic medication. The systemic medications consist of meperidine, fentanyl, buprenorphine and nalbuphine, remifentanil, then sedatives and tranquilizers. The meperidine is the most commonly used parenteral opioid analgesic during the labor. The intramuscular dose ranges from 50 to 100 mg with peak onset of effect at 40 to 50 minutes. That is after intramuscular dose. The intravenous dose is 25 to 50 mg of meperidine. It starts to act within 5 to 10 minutes. The analgesic effect of meperidine lasts for 3 to 4 hours. The fetal exposure to meperidine is highest between 2 to 3 hours after the maternal administration. It may causes loss of beat to beat variability of fetal heart rate tracing. Meperidine is thought to cause less respiratory depression in neonate than morphine does. Now we will see about the fentanyl. The fentanyl is an alternative analgesic option for patients in whom neuraxial anesthesia is contraindicated. What is the advantage of fentanyl? It is short acting. It has got short half-life. It makes suitable for prolonged use in labor, either as an intravenous bolus or as an analgesic administered by means of patient-controlled analgesia delivery system. It provides reasonable level of analgesia with minimal neonatal depression. That is the advantage. There is a minimal neonatal depression. It is potent opioid. Its use in labor has limited by side effects of short duration of action. The short duration of action is its side effect. Fentanyl crosses the placenta. it naloxone may be required to reverse the respiratory depression. The usual dose of labor analgesia is 25 to 50 microgram intravenously. The peak effect occurs within 3 to 5 minutes and the duration is 30 to 60 minutes. Although adverse effects as measured by acidotic umbilical cord blood gases or lower Apgar scores. Maternal sedation is apparent after the administration of 50 to 100 microgram. A transient decrease in fetal heart rate variability was also noted. Intravenous fentanyl is preferable to meperidine as a labor analgesic. Fentanyl offers another advantage in that it can be administered in non-parenteral modalities, as it can be given subcutaneously, orally or by patch. These are the advantages. Now we will see about butorphanol and nalbuphine. Butorphanol and nalbuphine are opioid agonist and antagonist. They are structurally related to oxymorphone and naloxone. They have potential advantage of producing less nausea and vomiting than other opioids. Butorphanol is kappa agonist and mu antagonist. It has minimal effect on other receptors. Its dose, that means butorphanol dose, is 1 to 2 milligram intramuscularly or intravenously. It has duration of action 4 hours. Now we will see about nalbuphine. The nalbuphine is partial K agonist, kappa agonist and potent mu antagonist. A dose of nalbuphine is 10 milligram intramuscularly or intravenously. It is equivalent to 10 milligram of morphine. The onset of nalbuphine is within 2 to 3 minutes and after intravenous dose. It can offer analgesia for 6 hours. The advantage of these agents over mu agonist is that they demonstrate a ceiling effect, whereby increasing dose they do not produce further respiratory depression. That is, butorphanol and nalbuphine doesn't produce further respiratory depression. These drugs is limited in clinical practice because they rapidly transferred across placenta and have produced ominous fetal heart rate pattern. Now we will see about the remifentanil. Remifentanil is potent, short-acting mu opioid receptor agonist. It is approved for clinical use since 1996. It is piperidine derivative with normal opioid configuration. It contains ester linkage that allows metabolism by non-specific esterases through blood and muscle. This metabolism gives it a unique pharmacologic profile in comparison to other opioids. Remifentanil has extremely rapid plasma clearance and offset of action. Its estimated half-life is 1.3 minutes. Prolonged administration does not appear to cause accumulation of this drug. Fetal exposure to drug is minimized because of its rapid metabolism or redistribution. These properties make attractive alternative systemic analgesic in parturients in whom regional analgesia is contraindicated. Using patient control analgesia with intravenous remifentanil suggests that median effective bolus dose of 0.4 microgram per kg with lockout time of 1 minute. Continuous infusion of remifentanil at 0.05 microgram per kg per minute with bolus of 25 microgram and lockout time is of 5 minutes. Provides satisfactory labor analgesia. Prolonged use for 34 hours has also been reported in parturients. Now we will see about sedatives and tranquilizers. The sedatives, promethazine is most commonly administered drug. Most commonly administered phenothiazine in obstetrics. It is used with meperidine. It can be given in dose. Promethazine dose is 25 to 50 milligram. Is to prevent the emesis. Promethazine appears in fetal blood within 1 to 2 minutes after intravenous injection in mother, and it reaches equilibrium within 15 minutes. Now we will see about the ketamine. Ketamine is NMDA receptor antagonist. It produces dissociative anesthesia. It has been used in pregnant patients. As it is phencyclidine derivative, its mechanism of action may be mediated by interaction with phencyclidine receptors. These are located in limbic system and corticothalamic areas of the brain. This ketamine has been used in subanesthetic doses. The dose is 0.5 to 1 milligram per kg, or it is given as 10 milligram every 2 to 5 minutes to a total dose of 1 milligram per kg in 30 minutes during the labor. In addition to its use in labor, ketamine in dose of 25 to 50 microgram can be used to supplement an incomplete neuraxial blockade for caesarean section. The main disadvantage of ketamine are potential for hypertension and emergence reaction. The high doses, that is more than 2 mg per kg, can produce psychomimetic effects and increased uterine tone, which can cause low Apgar score and abnormalities in neonatal muscle tone. Now we will see about the benzodiazepine, that means diazepam. These drugs readily crosses placenta. The elimination half-life has as long as 48 hours for diazepam and 120 hours for its main metabolite N-desmethyldiazepam. The other problem in neonate including sedation, hypotonia, cyanosis, impaired metabolic responses to the stress. Many of the adverse effects can be reversed by administration of flumazenil, which is competitive benzodiazepine receptor antagonist. This is about the sedative and tranquilizers. Now we will see about